Hell yeah, let's get Stinko.
Because we are ducks, and ducks fly together.
Charlie Conway, Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Welcome, Giles and the Goalies podcast, episode 96. If you couldn't tell by half the intro, that was Mighty Ducks themed in relation to number 96, Charlie Conway.
Sure.
If you're wondering where the Flyers game was in that intro, I mailed that in like the team did. Also, we are recording at Unnamed Bar and Grill again, and we just watched Florida hit a buzzer beater against Wisconsin, so hell yeah.
Yep.
Down with Wisconsin.
Better dead than red.
All right, so this is our latest ever podcast. We're actually recording on a Friday night podcast after dark.
Almost midnight.
Yes.
Have we even come close to that before?
No.
No?
Not really, because when we first started, we did it really early in the afternoon, and then we've come close a few times with some 7 o'clock starts on Sunday night, but
true.
Nothing ever
Nothing
close
quite
to
like this. No.
Oh.
Yeah, travel schedules necessitated as Giles is taking the lovely drive through Wisconsin and Illinois to Detroit, and I am obviously traveling for work now starting on Monday, so had to get it done on Friday night. So for the benefit of the old school GATG crowd, we have a drunk Giles podcast, or a heavily buzzed Giles podcast.
Hell yeah, let's get Stinko. Hey, I will say, I held my own in that bags tournament I just took part in.
Yeah, I mean, you guys kind of got the floor mopped with you, but I mean, it was those guys were good, and your partner, who's usually, as you said before, the Gretzky of bags, he had an off game, so he wasn't quite as dominant as he usually is.
Yari Curry isn't carrying that team. Gretzky didn't.
You were a
Gretzky
good Yari Curry.
Yep.
Yeah,
I am the Yari Curry to his Gretzky.
Yeah, that's what I caught.
What's sad is when I tell him that, he'll never understand.
Oh, yeah, he said that it's not like he's like, yeah, Giles is always into this sports stuff. Yeah, you can say that.
Yeah. No, so I have notes. One of them was introductions, and I failed at that.
Oh, good start.
If you can't, I got distracted by the yelling
it's hard
from
not
the
to.
Wisconsin fans.
And every time Wisconsin loses, it's hard not to get distracted by
God bless
that.
them. They're just so sad. It's just a wonderful day. Between them and sad UND fans, it's just been just a banner day in the Farrell house.
Do things get much better than that for you, quite honestly? Wisconsin and UND knocked out in the NCAA tournaments in the same day.
What a day.
I know, right?
It's great today, but tomorrow I have to put all my hopes in the fact that the Gophers can at least win a game just to not make this look like a crap show. So,
fair.
But we're going to get into that a little later in the show.
So introductions?
I'm going to drink to Wisconsin losing first.
Okay, you do that.
No, I am Giles Farrell. If you can't tell by the drinking noises. Across the table from me is Ben Remington.
Hello.
And as I said, we're here at Unnamed Bar and Grill in Roseville.
Yes.
On a lovely Friday evening.
Yes.
And yeah, this is... I don't know where to go with this.
Okay.
So I'm just going to continue on.
No, I think
I wrote down...
You're doing fine.
I did write down grind my gears.
Oh.
But I forgot what was grinding my gears. It got drowned in the glorious feeling of UND and Wisconsin losing today. So
if there was ever a day where something could not grind your gears, today would be that day.
We just need to go back to that Snapchat filter where you got the angel overhead. Just a good feeling. Speaking of Gretzky, here's Gretzky. If I say you're Gretzky to my Yari Curry, do you know what that means? No? Yeah. In bags. No?
No,
Yeah,
he doesn't
okay,
know.
He didn't get it.
That's fine.
All right.
It's fine.
I'll tell you later and you'll like it. We try to keep it PG here.
Yeah, we try. It's going to be difficult tonight because Giles had a couple of libations, and and he's pretty fired up about this whole Wisconsin losing, UND losing thing.
They lost.
Fucking crazy. Wasn't
Yeah.
It was a floater. I was like, oh fuck, no way.
I think the mic picked it up. I'm not sure. We'll find
All
out.
right, so maybe next week I'll have something that'll grind my gears.
Maybe. We'll find out.
Yeah, every show, grind my gears. All right, I have a
I don't know what he was referencing with that hand motion, but I don't want to know anymore.
It's the most hits out of everything.
Okay, I have a grind my gears now.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. Wow. No, my buddy I was playing bag walked up here and he's BSing with us. For those who can't hear, which is probably
I think
everyone.
they picked up on that.
Yeah.
I would hope at least.
That's okay.
Okay.
Well, keep the grinding your gears going, guys.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Anyway,
I think all of those F-bombs he dropped probably got picked up very lightly. Hopefully lightly.
yeah, somebody's got to check the tape tomorrow.
Yeah, well, we might have to label this one explicit.
Okay.
We'll see.
So since we're kind of on a shorter week, we only got 2 games to hit on.
Yeah.
The first of which was Tuesday. The Wild defeated the Sharks 3-2.
Yeah.
It was just kind of a weird. It was kind of a weird game, but a much needed game against a very good Sharks team, and much needed win.
Yeah.
Against a good Sharks team, and you kind of had the feeling that maybe they'll right the ship at this point. That snapped their 5-game losing streak.
Yeah. And I think it was Dan Myers, the Wild Digital guy who tweeted it out after the fact. I think they've won like 9-1 or something in their last 10 against the Sharks, something obscene like that. And I said it last week. They tend to play the Sharks pretty well. I don't know what it is, but they just tend to do a pretty good job against the Sharks, and we saw more of that. And it was one of those kind of games where it looked like it was a good turning point. Like They had that really good comeback on Sunday against the Jets, and you kind of felt like that could be a turning point, and then they ended up losing the game. But then against the Sharks, Dubnyk has a pretty solid game. They seem like they're getting good chances. They're limiting the Sharks' chances. Probably one of the better defensive games you've seen them play in a long time against a team that's obviously very offensively talented. So it was good to snap the losing streak for sure.
Yeah, and Dumba had a goal in that game.
Yeah,
nice goal, and he's having a good month of March. I'll say that, and defensive problems aside, I'll still say he's having a good March despite what others may seem to think.
Well, I mean, the thing with him is, you know, he's been caught with a couple of defensive lapses, and certainly we saw that on Thursday against Philly. It looked like he got caught, with a couple of not so hot looking plays. But you know, and the positives to Dumba is never going to be, he's never going to be that Ryan Suter, Jonas Brodin type player. He's never going to be an airtight defender. The positives that you get out of Matt Dumba is all the offense that he can generate from the blue line. So, you know, not to say that we should be okay with his defensive lapses, and not to say that we should be okay with, you know, the times where he gets beat and it looks bad. But at the same time, the other guys get beat too. You know, we've seen Suter get beat. We've seen Brodin get beat. We've seen other guys get beat. It happens.
Scandella.
It happens to Scandella like twice a game. So that's kind of where you draw the line. Is that, yeah, Dumba gets beat. Everyone gets beat. But Dumba can create offense that, you know, better, I would say, more so than a lot of the other defensemen right now on the Wild. So that's the positive that you're getting from him. So I don't know. He's an easy target just because people see the turnovers and people see, the botched defensive plays and like to harp on those. But then they're, you know, predictably silent when he scores like he did against San Jose. And
Dumba has...
And he scored against Philly, too.
6 points in 10 games in March. 3 goals, 3 assists. And I haven't compared that to other Wild defensemen, but I have to imagine that's leading the Wild defense.
Probably.
But he's having a good month, and there's seemingly a lot of criticism being tossed at him, and I don't know. Anyway, so that was Tuesday's game. Wednesday, the Wild announced they have signed prospect Luke Cunnin to an entry-level contract, and he'll start in Iowa for the rest of this year on an amateur tryout.
Right.
Your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people saw this coming. He had a very strong World Juniors, and he had a very strong season in Wisconsin as well. So, it was. I think it was kind of a toss-up whether he would stay or go from Wisconsin, and he's deciding to go. So, that's it's obviously a good thing. I mean, was their first round pick. Nice meeting, he was their first round pick last year and has played, you know, magnificently ever since. So this is a good thing. For the future wise, I don't know that we'll see him super soon. Obviously, he's only going to be in Iowa this year. He can't even be a Black Ace because he's not rostered. But I think people who are super getting their hopes up to seeing him really soon next season, I don't know that he's quite there yet. I think he'll spend. I mean, he'll spend a half a season in the AHL. I think at least I would say. I think best case scenario for him is he tears it up and only spends a half a season there.
Joel Eriksson will be here,
right? And that'll be the thing too, is that Joel will be here, and he'll be slightly ahead of him in the pecking order, slightly. But you got to be excited about it because, you know, you got Eriksson and you got Cunnin, and those are two guys who are rightfully so. There's a lot of excitement about, who will be on, presumably on at least the Iowa Wild next year, with a lot of opportunity to be called up. So,
and it's nice to have some good center prospects on the way. And
right.
It's good to have some depth down the middle.
Yeah.
That's a good thing, and I haven't seen a whole lot of Cunnin this year because why in the name of God would I watch Badger hockey? But
it's a lot better than it was last year, at least, which isn't saying anything at all. But
Yeah, that's a low bar to clear.
Yeah, it's limbo stuff.
Anyway, on Thursday, the Wild played the Flyers.
Yeah.
And oh boy, after a goal pretty quick into the hockey game, and then almost another one that certainly would have set a much better tone in their favor. They're only up 1-0, and then they kind of put it in the bag, and they coasted, and they ended up losing 3-1 because they never really had anything going after the first 10 minutes of the hockey game.
Right.
In a game at home that you seemingly should win, they did not, and that's. As I wrote for Thursday morning before the game, I didn't think winning the division was attainable anymore, just on how far behind Chicago they were. But you got to win the winnable games, and they did not, and they're still firmly in second place. But with Nashville and St. Louis kind of jockeying for position for the number 3 spot, you don't want to have too many more of those down the stretch because those guys could catch up on you.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be important to, hold that number 2 spot just for home ice and then the first round, because that not that it means the world. And obviously, I wrote about not winning the division not being the most important thing in the world as far as their matchup with the Blackhawks, but. I think that it is important for them to get the 2 seed. It is important for them to get home ice against either the Blues or the Predators, because those are teams that say what you want. I mean, they're kind of a fair amount behind the Wild right now in the standings, but they're still good teams, and they're still teams that can absolutely take this team to the distance in a playoff series. And we just saw a very tough series against St. Louis 2 years ago, where the Wild won in 6. But I mean that series, if not for the complete collapse from Jake Allen in game, I think it was game 5, right? It could have gone either way. So it's tough to say. I don't know.
I'm going to take credit for those last 2 games of the playoff series, because in between games 4 and 5, I wrote about how good Jake Allen had been in that series.
Giles curse.
And I specifically wrote that knowing that he would fall apart.
Right. And he did.
You're welcome.
And to the point of my piece that I wrote for Friday, or for today, I should say, Dubnyk was good in that series. He had some games where it was, he was okay, but he had some games where he was really good. And so it'll be interesting to see, that's another focal point that we have going into the season. You wrote a little bit about getting him rest on Thursday, and then there's been a lot written about him in the last week, as I mentioned in my article today, from Hockey Wilderness and from Michael Russo in the last week, about Dubnyk. And so it'll be interesting to see how he's approached to finish off the season.
Yeah, both you and I mentioned that Hockey Wilderness article in our various pieces, and that's not a good graph when you see the lines take a steep nosedive in the April month of the year for Dubnyk's rolling 5-on-5 save percentage.
Yeah, I don't know what it's weird because he has had good marches both years. Except this year, he's had a kind of a horrendous March. March has been his worst month. So it makes and that's basically what I wrote about today. It makes for a very interesting kind of situation where he's had 2 really good Marches in a row, and then followed it up with 2 pretty mediocre to bad Aprils. And now this year he's at mediocre to bad, closer to the bad March. Bad. He's at a bad March. And so it'll be interesting to see if he's able to, bounce back from that, where he's bounced back from down months that he's had before. So I don't know. A lot's going to ride on him, and we know that, and that's why I wrote about it on Friday. I guess only time will tell.
So going back to the Blues and the Predators, I guess at this point, do you have a preference as to who the Wild get locked up with in round 1?
Not really. I don't know. They seem like there's kind of similar teams. I'm not intimidated by Pekka Rinne at all, and even less so Jake Allen. But I don't know. It feels like just like the Mike Yeo factor kind of makes me not want to face the Blues because I just don't want to hear about it. Not that I fear Mike Yeo in a playoff series.
The amount of think pieces on Mike Yeo coming back for revenge would be off the charts.
I know. And so, I just don't want to give him that opportunity. I just don't want to see that be a narrative. I don't want to see that be a story. But, yeah, and to his credit, the Blues are playing a little bit better lately. They were a very popular pick to miss the playoffs, especially when Hitchcock was fired. And here they are now. I mean, they're surging up, and they're in third place in the division and bumped the Predators to a wild card spot, which, the way things shake out right now, it looks like the divisions are going to kind of stick together with the wild cards. But still, I don't know. I'd be interested to see. It'll probably come down to the last game or two with those two teams, and I don't know. I kind of prefer playing the Preds, but at the same time, we've seen them play tough in the playoffs as well. They gave the Blackhawks a hell of a series 2 years ago. So
it almost feels like there's just kind of a big dogfight between St. Louis and Nashville right now because Calgary is really charging.
Yeah,
and they are going to pretty much lock themselves into that top wild card spot.
Yeah.
Which should actually be renamed the Minnesota Wild Memorial Wild Card spot.
Last season they were second wild card, weren't they?
No, they were the first wild card.
Who was the second wild card last year?
Last year?
Yeah. Was it the Blues? No. They went Stars, Hawks, Blues. I didn't remember.
We might have been. We were. My bad.
Yeah, I was
the first however many years we were the first wild card.
Right.
Anyway, that was a good 10 seconds of dead silence of thinking.
Podcasting after dark, folks.
But because basically whoever's not going to get into the 3 spot to play the Wild is more than likely going to have to play the Blackhawks.
Right.
Unless the Flames really come back down to earth, which kind of hard to see because they've been playing so well since the trade deadline, and Brian Elliott finally figured it out.
Yeah, he was having a rough year and then very much turned it around. So,
and I guess to your point of maybe not having a preference, it just seems like these teams would almost kind of have to wear themselves down to a point just to try and get them into that spot, which would be very advantageous for Minnesota, who will have home ice advantage.
It almost feels like the Wild are going to have home ice advantage. I mean, they can lock up the 2 seed, and it feels like locking up the 2 seed is going to be relatively easy.
That's what I said. It's pretty certain that they're going to have the 2 seed in my article on Thursday, but they don't like to make it easy on themselves. Was the last point I drove across.
Yeah, very true.
And they're still 9 points up with 9 games to play, and if you can get a couple points over the weekend, you're still in good shape.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Thursday's game was not encouraging, and I don't know.
Well, I mean, they do face the Canucks tomorrow, or probably by the time, maybe even before people listen to this. But so they face the Canucks and the Red Wings this weekend. And those are 2 games where you have to get some points out of there, without a doubt. I mean, you really hope for a weekend sweep, but you really have to get some points out of there, and that will go that much further towards locking up that 2 spot.
All right, I'm gonna quick throw a promo in there since we're at a weird point.
Sure.
For those who are unaware, our website, Zone Coverage, Cold Omaha, has teamed up with Fan HQ for a pretty neat event on Saturday, April 8th, which involves all 12 of the Minnesotans who were on the Miracle on Ice hockey team of 1980. If I can find the list, because I don't have any notes.
I don't know that you need to go through the list, but if you want to.
Okay, look it up.
Yeah.
Look up Minnesotans on the 1980 Miracle on Ice team.
I mean,
Sans Herb Brooks.
Well, you had to go there.
Sorry.
Too soon.
I'm drinking. But, it's a pretty cool thing, and we might be doing something in relation to that. I don't know where
we are.
I don't know. It was hinted at it.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know.
News to me. Or maybe I just forgot. I probably just forgot.
It was in the initial email. Don't you read?
No, I don't read.
Okay. Tom will be pleased.
I'll have to look at that.
He's totes gonna DM us tomorrow.
Yeah.
Why don't you read?
You guys are idiots. Yeah, you know what, Tom? Fair. Anyway. So yeah, very cool to wrap that promo up. As we mentioned before, very, very cool. They got all 12 Minnesotans together in the same place at the same time. Kind of a miracle in and of itself. I didn't even mean to make that pun, but whatever. But yeah, very, very cool. Excited to kind of be a part of that in a very small way by having our site involved. So that's always a cool thing. Very cool stuff, cool opportunities to be a part of.
You can find more info on it at zonecoverage.com or fanhqstore.com. You can find just about everything you need there.
Sure.
And then, we'll figure out what's going to come of that with us. But, you should check that out anyway, because that's really cool.
Yeah.
Or just go just to see Bill Baker's hair. 'Cause God bless it. It just flows in the wind so eloquently.
Tremendous.
All right. And then I guess other promo, since people are still trying to listen to this show, give us an iTunes rating. We like those.
Yes.
If you listen to us on iTunes. Some people don't, and they get angry when we promote iTunes. So, anyway.
Get over it.
All right. So the other main talking point I had from this week, which I didn't get to see the San Jose game. Unless you want a scathing review of Beauty and the Beast.
A scathing review?
I'd like to say hi. It's gotta be like the worst spot, like all the drunk. You that's a lot.
Maybe this was not the greatest spot for a podcast.
You picked it.
I did. I thought we were away from the danger because the Wisconsin game was going on, but little did I know.
It's good. This is good. This is what happens on Podcast After Dark.
Yeah, exactly. So, scathing review of Beauty and the Beast, huh? Was that bad?
No, I enjoyed it.
Really?
Yeah.
I was very, I vaguely remember the cartoon, obviously, from my childhood, but just the live action of it, I don't know. It was
pretty good.
Really? I mean, wasn't it weird, though, with the Beast actually being live action? And I feel like...
I know somebody who religiously watches, or who is very up on that and enjoyed it. So I will take their word for it.
Sure. So, like the talking cutlery and utensils and such, were they?
That was great.
Oh, so they were good.
The clock was voiced by Ian McKellen, which was wonderful.
That's tremendous, yeah.
And for most of the movie, I was trying to figure out who the candle was being voiced by, and I could never figure it out. The voice was kind of like
familiar. Yeah.
It was familiar in my head. I couldn't put a finger on it. And then finally, at the end, because at the end they had They had the character on one side of the screen, and then they had the actual actor on the other side of the screen, and in the middle was their name.
Yeah.
So when the candle came up, it was Ewan McGregor.
Oh.
And I lost my mind because it's like, his voice was familiar, but he had a little bit of a different tone to it than what I'm used to because I'm a nerd, so I associated with Star Wars.
Right.
But no, I did enjoy they actually had a really good cast for a lot of the voiceovers. Yeah. It was really good.
Well, wait, you just went for Emma Watson, didn't you? That just clicked with me now. How did that just click with me now?
I wasn't going to say it, but yes.
I'd forgotten all about that. Well, all right, so...
She was good.
All right, okay.
If you can tell by the intro to last week's episode, I have a good love for Harry Potter.
Sure. Naturally.
I forgot where I was going. Oh, okay. So this is why I have notes, folks. Keep me on course.
Oh boy.
So, like I said, I didn't see the Sharks game. I went back and I looked at the extended highlights and whatnot, and obviously watching the Flyers game wasn't much help. But there's just I kind of want to get your thoughts. There's a lot of negative talk on Martin Hanzal and his acquisition, and I'm not.
Well, and I talked about this last week where his acquisition is being blamed for the Wild slump. And it's like, okay, are you that big of a Tyler Graveck fan? I don't understand.
Well, here's my thing. He gets acquired on, it was March 1st, I think.
Sure.
That was the trade deadline, and he gets instantly tossed into the lineup.
Yeah.
Like, he's literally hot off a plane for 2 hours, and he's on the ice. This is a guy that spent 10 years some odd years in Arizona, and
sure.
I get it. Being traded isn't easy,
right?
And so I wasn't expecting him to play great right out of the gate. He did play pretty well that first game, and then it kind of tailed off for the next however many, and then he started to pick up in Florida, and then he caught that flu bug that was kind of going around.
Yeah.
So he missed the next 3 games, or 4 games, one or the other, and I thought that was kind of crucial. One of which was the Blackhawks game, which was kind of arguably the reason they acquired him to shut down Taves.
Yep.
And so then he kind of works his way back in, and I've not been disappointed with him really in the game since he's returned, but I just don't buy into the narrative that trade is the cause for the Wild seemingly swooning.
No.
I think, if anything, of that trade, a big gripe of mine is the fact that Ryan White gets plugged into the lineup more often than Jordan Schrader.
Yeah, that might be the worst part of that deal is the Ryan White acquisition, and he got out of the gates great with a couple of points in his first few games, but to your point, Jordan Schrader, we've seen probably better extended results out of him than we have out of Ryan White. But as far as Hanzal goes, we talked about it last week. I don't buy that he made this team worse somehow. And I'm not saying that chemistry isn't a real thing, and I don't mean to belabor this again like I did last week, but I'm just not buying it. I'm not buying it. And maybe it would be a lot worse for me if he was playing poorly and if he wasn't getting chances, but he scored his first goal on Tuesday on a weird, bang bang rebound type play. But other than that, it seems like he's been getting good chances. It seems like he's been around the net. It seems like he's gotten opportunities and just hasn't been able to finish one yet, which sounds vaguely familiar to the rest of the freaking team at this point. But if he was playing very poorly, if we were seeing him with bad defensive lapses, if we were seeing him being, virtually invisible on the offensive end, both things describe Ryan White. But it'd be different if that was the case, and I just don't think that's the case. I think he did add to this team, and he has nothing to do with the way this team is slumping. Like I said last week, he's not the reason that Dubnyk is playing poorly.
No.
Dubnyk has had a 900 flat save percentage in March. 900 flat, which is worse than Darcy Kemper this season, for reference for those people who, keep track of those things.
Well, okay. Since we ventured into the Kemper, do you want to make a statement on that? Because
no, I don't.
It is very apparent that Boudreau has lost all confidence in him.
Yeah, kind of. But at the same time, what you wrote about and what I wrote about this week is that now is the time to play him, because you are a little kind of locked into where you're at. So play him and give Dubnyk the rest that he needs. He's going to come awfully close to his games played mark from last season. He's on pace for 66 right now. Played 67 last year. So give him a little bit of rest. Give him a little bit of rest going into the playoffs, and then hopefully Dubnyk can get it turned around. He can work on some things. Hopefully the fact that they're a little bit less pressure, a little bit lower pressure games, that can help too. But yeah,
I would sincerely hope that, just as we're recording Friday night before the Saturday-Sunday games, that Kemper is going to get one start.
Oh, God, I would hope so.
Against Vancouver and or Detroit, non-playoff teams. And I want to say I read somewhere that it would maybe be Kemper Saturday and then Dubnyk Sunday, because it's a nationally televised game, but I could be wrong. Maybe that was just somebody BSing because of the whole Milbury-Roenick crap from a couple months ago.
They're not showing the Vancouver Canucks enough respect. I don't know. We'll see. I wrote about Dubnyk on Friday and how I hope he can bounce back, and maybe some rest does that. Maybe giving him, and I'm not saying give him a week off, because you don't want him to get rusty either. And he seems like, and something else I noted in my article, he responds well to heavy workloads. The highest save percentages some of the highest save percentages that he's had with the Wild have been in months where he played 12 games or more, which is a lot for a month for an NHL goalie. So, I don't think we should shy away from a workload for him, but at the same time, getting him some rest leading up to the playoffs might be a good thing.
I would agree, as I've said maybe once before on this
You might have mentioned it. I don't know. You talk about hills that I die on. When that tweet that you sent out from the podcast account was about Dubnyk starts, had nothing to do with Kemper, but was about Dubnyk starts, and then, somebody...
Don't ruin my narrative.
Somebody drags me into it and starts talking about Kemper, and then you take a shot at me about my hill to die on, when that wasn't even the point to begin with.
Yeah. You know who I live with, so I gotta take my shots when I get them.
Don't blame him for that. I'm not even hearing that.
I've got to take the victories I can get.
Oh, so I get it. S flows downhill. That's what we're doing here. Okay.
Oh, Christ! Last night I was up later because I didn't work today. So said roommate comes home, as he works late, and should have been, oh, hey, great, we don't usually get to do this during the week, but nope. 20 minutes in, I had been roasted about once every 3 minutes. So I gotta take the victories I can get here.
Okay. All right. Whatever. Okay. It turns into pot shots at me. I understand.
Did you have any other takes from this week or anything else you want to get off your chest? Or I think we hit a lot. So
yeah, it was kind of. I mean, it's a short week for us. Kind of weird. It just. The Sharks game was very encouraging because we saw them play a little bit more of their game, and then I didn't see any of the Philly game because I was en route, but it sounded like that was a pretty horrendous game from top to bottom. So, when Russo calls that team lifeless, it's getting ugly. So,
wow, I drew the line at Russo tweeting about the organist.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He threw out a tweet. The organist trying to do his damnedest to get life back into this crowd. So if Russo's tweeting about the organist, then yeah, that's not a good night.
So yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. This weekend, I think, will be a pretty good indication of where this team is at mentally, because they've got two teams that they should beat, 2 day games, which they don't love. But we still need to see this team come out hard. We can't see this team lollygag because it's a day game or because it's a non-playoff team. They need the points, so they need to come out strong, and that's what we got to see this weekend.
So looking ahead, we've got kind of a long schedule ahead here because we're not going to record until the next Sunday, which will leave us with 3 games remaining in the regular season, which is very, very weird to think about, as we talked about yesterday.
Yeah.
So Saturday at home against the Canucks, day game, 1:00 start, I believe.
Yep.
Sunday, 11 o'clock start, noon start in Detroit for those of us. And then they come back home Tuesday against Washington.
Oy. Then
they play Thursday against Ottawa, and then Saturday at Nashville, and then Sunday Sunday versus Colorado.
Yeah, that's a rough week right there. Obviously, this weekend you want to get some points, but then you've got kind of a meat grinder. You've got 3 playoff teams all in succession there.
Wow.
Well, Ottawa isn't quite, but close. They're playing really well right now. So obviously Washington, that's a big game. You got to find a way to beat them. I don't know that you're going to, but it'd be nice to. And then probably the game that you're circling is that Nashville game, because that's a playoff preview. Not 100%, but it's very, very possible that's a playoff preview game. So that game is going to be watched with much intrigue and curiosity. So I don't know, tough week. They have to find a way to get a couple of points out of those good teams.
Tough 10 days.
Yeah.
As so we kind of look at it. It's weird. But I agree. You gotta get points out of the weekend. At least 2, and if not more. Vancouver is toast, and Detroit is
pretty much
toast, and you come out of that, and then you get Washington at home, and obviously, as you said, the big test is going to be Saturday against Nashville, and that'll obviously be everyone in. Dubnyk will for sure start that game, if not the previous 5. But it's all hands on deck. That is going to be your playoff preview almost, and then you get to follow that up with Colorado.
Yeah. Well, and that's the nice thing, is that immediately after that, the schedule drops off to nothing. The schedule drops off to Colorado twice.
Yeah, and
Carolina and Arizona. So that's kind of the light at the end of the tunnel. You hope that this team can
tune-up games in there,
right? You hope that this team has kind of got some things locked up, and then in those final 4 games of the season where they're playing just, more or less bad hockey teams, you would hope that they would come across, find some things, get some things figured out. Get Dubnyk some confidence would be a very important one, and to get some lines and deep pairings shook out. Something at least you can build off of, some success if you can build off of going into the playoffs.
So I want to bring this up since we mentioned Colorado. The Wild haven't announced their nominee, but I'm going to assume it's going to be Eric Stahl.
Yeah.
But I don't know, that hasn't happened yet as we record. But today we started to get some of the team nominees for the Bill Masterson Memorial Trophy. And I'm going to read you the definition of the Bill Masterson Memorial Trophy, which is the Bill Masterson Memorial Trophy is awarded to the National Hockey League player who best exemplifies perseverance, sportsmanship, and dedication to the game of ice hockey. And today it was revealed that LA Kings legend Jerome McGinley was named the nominee for the LA Kings. That's not a joke. And that's what I first thought was, that's a joke. Right?
Right.
No. And then I read the definition of the award, and I let that sink in for a minute. And I thought, okay, I will give Jerome McGinley credit to where credit is due. He had wait for it, he had to persevere and remain dedicated to the game of ice hockey despite playing in a black hole for 2.5 years.
That's an interesting, there's so many things that hockey players have to overcome. And Eric Stahl had a very rough year. Was traded, left his franchise team. Had to overcome that. Devin Dubnyk won the Masterton. Had a very, up and down, not a very down, basically, season. Bounced back in a big way. Became a Vezina finalist. I don't know that we've ever had a Masterton nominee or even especially winner who had to persevere being on a bad hockey team. That's what you had to persevere. There wasn't any kind of personal struggles. There wasn't any kind of professional struggles. He still had a decent season. His life, from what we know, is run of the mill. He had to persevere playing on a team that bad. Playing on a team that is in last place in the NHL by 20 points.
And this just goes to show how bad the Avalanche are. When a guy who was traded less than a month ago goes to a new team, and he is that team's nominee for the Masterson Trophy.
Or maybe things are just really good for everyone else in LA. Except Ben Bishop.
I mean, good for Iginla, but he got out of a bad situation and got into a below average situation because the Kings are going to miss the playoffs.
Yeah, they sure are. So that's a very, it's kind of poetic a little bit. Again, I feel bad for Ben Bishop, but still, it's, he is what it is.
I just wanted to throw that out there.
Sure.
Yikes. All right. Jerseys?
Sure.
There is no off-season when it comes to Andy Luke and Reed Football Machine on the Colo Podcast Network. Stick with us all off-season long as we talk free agency, the draft, OTAs, training camp, and then we're back in the season, baby, available on iHeart, iTunes, Stitcher, and ColoNomad.com/machine.
Here to start the third period. What team is this? It's not Team USA? Well, yes, it is. They've got on new uniforms. They're wearing the logo of the Duck. I've never seen this before.
All right. Jersey this week is Nashville. For those who are new to the show, that's the part where we look at each team's jerseys every week, or specific team, and we imagine what they would look like in the Adidas redesign. Now I want to go punch that guy in the face.
What happened?
You missed him. He's giving me a weird look, and then he made a comment to his friend, and then they kind of had a laugh, so
They call us nerds or something?
I don't know.
Nerds!
Seems like it, but I'm going to go punch him. Anyway.
Podcasting After Dark.
Yeah. Yeah, this is episode 96, Podcast After Dark.
I think we already called an episode that.
We did.
Did we? I think we did. One of the early ones.
Oh, we're going to look.
All right.
While I look.
Yeah, anyway. Nashville's jerseys, they suck. Discuss.
Well, this is about as Reebok Edge puke as you can
God,
get.
Yes.
It is very bad. Before Reebok Edge kicked in, I thought Nashville was doing all right.
Yeah.
Because they had the navy blue, or the dark blue, I should say, home jerseys, and then the white with blue and yellow trim road jerseys, which was a decent look. It wasn't great, but it was decent. And then the Reebok Edge kicked in, and it just totally wrecked Nashville.
Yeah, I liked their original the original blue jerseys. I liked those. I thought they were a decent look. It was a shame they never had a player worth wearing. Unless you're a big David Legwan fan or something. But I liked those jerseys. The logo is okay. It's not mind-blowingly awesome, but it's okay. But yeah, I thought they were a good, clean look. And then, yeah, like you said, Reebok took over, and all of a sudden this team was like, hey, you know what, guys? Yellow. Yellow is the way to go. Nothing but yellow. And I just don't understand that. I just don't. I don't know. I don't know why that. You're laughing at old podcast titles.
So as Ben's going on here, I've been looking it up, and you have to go back to episode 7. 7, Podcasting After Dark.
Well, probably because that one was done on Skype.
Oh, man.
So this one will be Podcasting After Dark, too.
Oh, my goodness. That is so.
We're going to see a spike. We're going to see a spike in listens for episode 7.
I go back and listen to that.
Well, it's a Charlie episode, so we know it's at least somewhat good because he's a big deal now.
The audio quality's crap.
Well, no, it might have been on Skype, so it might not have been that bad. Well, I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But yeah, just getting back to the Perds here, the task at hand. Yeah, just bad. The whole yellow thing. And so I'm really hoping that they go back from that. That they go back to the dark blue as a primary color. Because this yellow thing is just. I mean, who likes it? I don't know how that got so popular. And then they had to go to the yellow helmets too, and so they look like minions. And I just, I don't understand it. And poor PK Subban gets traded from a beautiful jersey to this abomination.
This is a team that, for what feels like the 5th or 6th week in a row, where I've said, this just cries of. They will get a makeover in the Adidas redesign, and I hope that they go back to a blue home jersey.
Yeah.
But I'm not optimistic about that. I feel like we're going to see some kind of yellow jersey with blue stripes down the side. So,
what would be great is if they took the Team Sweden approach and went blue home, yellow away. that would look beautiful. That I could get behind. That's where a yellow jersey where I'm like, hey, you know what? White was never a good look for you, so you can keep the yellow as a away jersey now. Yeah, I would like to see that. That's my request of the Perds.
Yeah. It feels like at this point anything is better than what they have now. So
yeah, pretty much. Good point.
I don't know. Yeah. All right. Enough on that. And then last thing I have here is the NCAA hockey tournament underway today, going into the weekend. We saw some relatively exciting games today.
Very.
Boston University in North Dakota hitting double overtime. Minnesota Duluth, Ohio State overtime. Obviously, there was a favorable result in one particular game.
Now, was it? How much better did it make it for you that North Dakota thought they won, and ended up losing? How sweet was that for you personally?
Oh man.
If we have any North Dakota fans that listen to this show, they're not surviving.
I know I alienated some Twitter followers today.
Yeah, well,
and I am not sorry.
Yeah,
but they went from yes, we won, to nope, on which I will admit was questionable. Like, there was no very conclusive evidence that goal was offsides, but it did look offsides, but we don't know for sure. They still called it offsides, and then somehow BU made it into that overtime intermission, which I thought never would have happened.
Yeah.
Or should have happened, because it felt like ND was playing at 2 gears above BU.
Yeah.
And it didn't, and it just takes one play in the next overtime to win it, and by God, is that great?
Are you now suddenly a big Charlie McAvoy fan?
Yes. His jersey is in the mail.
For those who don't know, Charlie McAvoy is actually a pretty touted NHL prospect. He was a guy, he was highlighted in our, I believe, it was 2 years ago, correct? He's in our 10 for 20 series. We thought he was a possibility for the Wild. Bruins prospect, if I remember correctly. And he scored the game-winning goal for Boston University today against UND. So because of that, we are fans of his.
Who reads draft coverage?
Podcasting after dark, folks. Only the best inside jokes. Anyway. Big game. Well, you filled out a bracket. I saw that.
It died.
You had Harvard winning it all.
And Harvard did win today, and they were my national title pick.
Sure. I didn't fill one out. I'm not cool enough to fill one of those out.
There was a logic to my bracket.
Sure.
Because previous years, I thought well of the Gophers, and I picked them to do well.
How dare you?
They did not. So I picked Harvard to go win it all. Just looking at the various regionals, I had. So my Frozen Four was I had Denver winning that regional, whatever that is. UMass Lowell winning the regional the Gophers were in. And
sure.
I don't even have the Gophers winning a game.
I like how you're hedging your bets there.
Which I hope I'm wrong, folks. Don't please.
Don't at you?
Don't at me. As soon as I tweeted that, I took that tweet and I sent it to a few people in a DM, and I said, here's why I did this.
Giles curse.
And then I had Harvard winning the regional. And then I had UND winning the regional, which died a fiery death today. And by God, am I glad.
So so what you're saying is the Giles curse is already working its magic on the NCAA hockey tournament. Well done.
And I'm just so gosh darn sad that it just had to go against those wonderful people of North Dakota who aren't racist in the slightest whatsoever.
But to their credit, they are big fans of soup.
Yeah,
so
they love soup.
I mean,
they kept chanting, "Let's go soup!
Let's go soup!" They just love that soup. All right. Well,
no, I did have Harvard winning it all.
Okay,
but obviously, I hope I'm wrong.
Sure.
I hope a team out there who shall remain nameless takes it all home starting tomorrow.
I'm interested to see Boston University. They've got a couple of interesting NHL prospects. I didn't get to see that game today, but obviously Jordan Greenway, wild prospect. I'm a big fan of Clayton Keller, Coyotes prospect. So we'll see how they can, what kind of noise they can make after snapping the hearts of UND fans like dry twigs.
Greenway didn't do a whole lot for me today, but it was more in the fact that North Dakota was such a speed team that that's really not going for what he's trying to do.
I don't think that's his game.
Hopefully tomorrow you get a better look at him, but I won't see it.
Yeah.
So
cool.
I'll be driving to Detroit. Actually, sidebar. We're so excited about driving to Detroit. We're literally going to stop in whatever major Wisconsin city we're in, whether that's Madison or Janesville, because we've scouted local watering holes to watch the Wild game. So that's how excited we are to get to Detroit.
Well, and luckily, as I found out last week, FS Wisconsin does carry Wild games, so you should be good there.
That's also playing into the reason why we're stopping to watch for the Wild games, because we know FS Wisconsin hasn't.
Yep. So you are fortunate there.
Good thing Wisconsin doesn't have a hockey team. I'd hate them too.
The Milwaukee Admirals, the AHL team, you hate them?
Their logo is such a cheap riff-off of the Milwaukee Brewers logo.
Is it? I mean, wait, they rebranded recently, didn't they?
Well, okay, maybe. I want to say the crest is like an admiral or something, like a pirate.
Yeah.
And then on the shoulder patch is just the Milwaukee Brewers logo, because I think they're owned by the same company.
Oh. Huh.
I don't know.
I do not know that.
Oh, it's lazy.
Yeah. All right. Well, they can probably do it, huh? Yeah, I mean, they get a solid hour of heavily buzzed Giles, so I feel like...
Yeah, I felt really good about not fumbling my words right up until that last part.
You'll be fine.
But
I don't think anyone even noticed.
Give the people what they want.
Fair.
So yeah, that can do it for us. You can follow us on the Twitters at Giles Farrell, at Ben Remington. Find the podcast on Twitter at GATG Wild Podcast, where you can now get hinted at what the intro is for the next week, as I've done the last couple weeks. See, making intros is really fun. I'll say that.
Yep.
Next week it'll probably be Star Trek or some crap like that. 'Cause why not?
Sure.
But anyway, you can find the podcast on iTunes. Again, give us a rating on iTunes. Thank you to everyone who already has. You are most kind. We are averaging 5 stars, which is remarkable.
Yeah.
But thank you to everyone. find us on Libsyn, find us on Stitcher, or you can just find the podcast page on zonecoverage.com.
Yes.
So,
indeed.
Yeah, that'll wrap it up. Ben and I will be back next Sunday.
Sure.
After the Colorado game, I believe, unless our schedules don't allow, but we should be able to. So it'll be a long time in between shows, but a
lot of games to cover.
Yeah. We will have no shortage of games to talk about.
Yes.
But, thank you to everyone for continued listens. We're teetering on another monthly record, seemingly maybe after this podcast, but we'll see how this one goes. But yeah, so all right, so that'll do it. Thank you again, and we will see you next week.
Later.
St. Paul, Minnesota. Minneapolis, Minnesota.
We are ducks, and ducks fly together.
That's not resiliency. You're making it sound like we're good. That's all. I'm done.